We're done streaming it, what's it automatically saves to YouTube as a saved video? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Yo, 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 yo. It's your boy Deshaun Barros back in the building with these two fine gentlemen over here.
DJ Deshaun.
Yo, 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 it's your host with the most, Deshaun Dizzle.
Is it streaming?
Is it live?
I hope we're not live.
I show connected here.
I hope we're not live, but I hope we're not live right now. That would be very embarrassing. Oh, man. That's funny. I'm a very beautiful in that picture.
All right.
Everything
I
I
think
wanted.
we're live.
Muscular biceps. Yes. I'm kidding. I hope we're not live. I hope we're not live right now.
Podcast.
Yeah,
I think we're live. Matt, check us out there.
We're not live, bro.
Shows me connected here.
Let me see.
Did we go live?
Music going.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah. You like that?
Yeah, it's nice.
That's the intro.
No way.
It's just a delay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Politically Incorrect Podcast Show. We're just test running our first live video, so it's a little funky. We're just testing some things out. But welcome to the show. My name is Ivaldo Barros. We're going live today. Right here is Matt Kamara and Deshaun Barros. How we doing,
Welcome
fellas?
to the show. We are good. Just had a nice lunch. How you doing, Deshaun?
Man, I'm happy to be back with these two guys.
So, Deshaun, tell everybody what you had for lunch today.
So today I had China Star, and Matt seems to
Yes.
rave about this Chinese place.
So if you're one of the people that love China Star, if you're from Fall River or around that area and you like China Star, why don't you give us a like or thumbs up, whatever you're watching this from. I truly believe that it is the best Chinese in the city of Fall River. Some people disagree, but not everybody has good taste. They're so good they don't even have to deliver. And Deshaun can attest to that.
They are good. I'm not gonna lie, they are good. But I still stand with my China Sales is the best Chinese food.
So if
in
you're
Fall
if
River.
you're a team China Sales, I guess you can put a heart emoji or whatever that is.
Yeah.
But if you're team China Star, you can give a like or a thumbs up emoji. How's that? We'll see which one beats out which one.
So what's up, guys? What's going on?
Man, it's painful to watch. The Democratic National Convention was horrible. The Democratic Convention,
I mean-
DNC was. Ugh.
I mean, from everything that I've heard about it,
Yeah.
it's pretty depressing. So, I mean, if you are already somebody that suffers from depression or has a tendency to, I'd probably avoid watching the DNC. Pretty bleak. And I don't think they offered any solutions for America anyways. So it was basically, from my standpoint, it's basically an ad of why you should vote for Trump. So, what do you think of Aldo?
Oh man.
Baldo's still playing with the live.
It's
The
system
live stream.
here.
It's a little behind. So you guys, I don't know if you guys are watching, but it's a little behind. Like it's a little choppy.
Yeah,
The live.
There's always gonna be a delay. It's just what it is. It's never gonna be truly live.
No, we've got 8 people on here right now.
How does
Yeah,
the
they're watching
audio
live,
sound?
yeah.
How does the audio sound?
What's up to all you 8
Can
people
you guys hear
watching?
the audio?
Yeah, I can hear the audio.
Sounds okay in yours?
I can hear it.
It was, yeah, it was.
'Cause it sounds a little weird on me. Maybe it's just the, I don't know if it's the two.
Yeah, if there's an issue with the audio, please let us know. We're testing out going live as opposed to editing. So just let us know in the comments if you're having issues with the audio.
Maybe it's just
We'll
because I
try
got
to-
two audios going at the same time here. Maybe that's why.
All right. So let's get
Hey,
into
let
this.
me get rid of my basketball.
Let's get into this, man.
Well,
So-
speaking of basketball, right? We
Yeah,
have some-
speaking of basketball.
we can
Speaking
talk
of
about
basketball.
some things. So I'll let you, Avaldo. I won't let my whiteness get in the way. I'm not a big basketball player, nor do I care to pretend that I know anything about basketball, other than maybe NBA 2K. But that's about it. So why don't you take that?
Eddie
Avaldo.
Kamara just wrote that sound is cracking.
Really? Okay.
Eddie,
let
what
me-
do you mean by that? Whose sound? Is it mine? Is it Matt's? Is it Deshaun's?
Oh man, it is a little choppy, dude. So it's like kind of.
Yeah, I don't know if the choppiness is because we're on cell service and things like that, so it might appear choppy to us. But
Okay. All right. Well, let me
Yeah, audio is a little cracky. I can hear it.
cracky.
yeah.
All
Kinda-
three of us.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like if you're listening to AM radio. That's what it sounds like.
How about now? Does it sound better now?
And we're lagging. Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's like
it's
lagging.
it's gonna be tough because of the delay to figure it out.
So it's lagging and it's a
It's
little
lagging.
choppy. Yeah. Thanks, Eddie. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe it's the Wi-Fi setup. Could be that as well.
Oh, it does sound like it is AM radio or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds hard. Sounds kind of horrible.
It's all right. I mean, this is.
Yeah. So
We'll have to try to address that.
we'll work out those bugs for our next episode, but we're going to continue before it gets any later. So for those of you that stick with us through this experimental trial here, I guess you could say thank you very much, and we appreciate all the feedback. Make sure you continue to comment. But let's get into some basketball, Valdo. What do you
So
got?
speaking of basketball, with everything that's going on with the Black Lives Matter protesting and all of that stuff, there was a game just the other day, a playoff game in basketball between the Los Angeles Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. And anybody that knows basketball, there's a player named Luka Doncic that plays for the Dallas Mavericks. He's a pretty, great player. He's their best player, so he's pretty popular. And there's another player from the Los Angeles Clippers named Montrezl Harris. Those two got into some exchange, some trash talking on the court. And Montrezl Harris was talking trash to Luka Doncic. Montrezl is black, Luka Doncic is white. He's from Europe somewhere. And if you read Montrezl's lips when he was talking trash to Luka Doncic, he said something along the lines of, blah, 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 you white something. So he brought race into his trash talking. The reason why I found out about it was because Stephen Grace, our friend, our brother from the church that brought it up to me, he said that Jason Williams, who's a broadcaster or an analyst for SportsCenter, brought it up and made a video on Twitter talking and kind of shaming Montrezl for bringing up race in such a time as this,
Right.
as they're going through their thing with Black Lives Matter. He brought up the double standard that Montrezl Harris has in this situation, where he being black mentioned someone's race who is white and talk trash to him in that way. So I thought it was interesting because it does show a double standard. Because had it been
Right.
Luka Doncic that said that to
Yeah.
Montrez, it would have been all over the news and it would have been a big deal. He would have got excommunicated. He would have got shamed. It would have been bad for him.
Right. So what's the consequences right now for the player that did say that right now?
Nothing. No one's even talking about it other than Jason Williams.
Right. And you believe that had it been reversed, the roles, there would have been major backlash towards the white player.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So
Absolutely.
what do you think would have happened, Deshaun?
Oh, for sure. For sure, there'd be major backlash. I don't know how. I mean, it didn't happen, so I don't know if the situation. But hypothetically speaking, if you were to mention race, Luka Doncic, being that he's the star of the Mavericks team, he's the franchise player there right now, and he's averaging over 25 points a game at this point. and he said that to Montrez, there'd definitely be some major backlash for him.
Yeah. Do you think the league itself would have taken action, or do you think it would have been more social justice
Yeah, I mean,
or social media people?
I think it would have been more social media. I think at this point, social media plays a big part in a lot of the backlash people get. I feel like social media, anybody's able to comment and say whatever they want.
Right, right.
So I think that the more backlash you get would probably be on social media. But I also think the league probably would have picked up the story. Again, we're speaking in hypotheticals.
Right, right.
So I would just say that, he would probably get more backlash from social media.
Yeah, so Valdo, if Deshaun mentioned that he was their star player, now had the roles been reversed and he had not been the star player, how do you think that would have panned out?
You mean if Luca if what do you mean?
He was just maybe off the bench player. He wasn't a superstar. Do you think the league would have taken action against him? Because you had mentioned that there's a double standard. So you're saying that had it been the white person to say that against the black guy, there would have been deeper consequences than what's happening to the current player that actually said
Montrez isn't really a high-profile player either. So I just don't think that it's been picked up because Montreal isn't such a high-profile player. But Luka Doncic is. He's a high-profile player on the Dallas Mavericks. He plays very well. I think the story just hasn't been picked up just because it doesn't fit anybody's narrative at this point. It's not
Right.
something that can fit into a puzzle piece of what a political party wants to push at this point.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just I know, like, we live in an era of cancel culture, right? So
Yeah.
anybody says anything wrong.
Yeah.
There was actually, I believe this past week, 2 announcers that messed up, said something they shouldn't, and they were immediately removed from their position. One of them was during, I believe, a baseball game, where he said there was either a racial or anti-gay type slur, and he was immediately removed while the game was still, in progress. So
Oh.
we know that I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, do we believe that certain people, based on the color of their skin, may get away with being able to say certain things, while others, based on their skin, can't?
And that's what the double standard I was talking about.
Right.
Because Montrell's not. He's a pretty good player. He's off the bench. He's not as big as Luca, obviously. But had the roles been reversed, it would have been a much bigger story. It would have been a story.
Right, especially amongst people, I guess, that don't watch basketball, because they're going to pick up the whole, this white guy said this racial thing against a black
The
guy.
whole
And
white
then,
versus black thing.
right.
Which to me, I mean, in sports is getting crazy. It's just not just the NBA, but the NFL. They're gonna be playing the black national
Yeah.
anthem, I guess.
Yep, yeah, I did read that. I believe, I don't know if it's going to be every game, but I believe at least the first week, they're going to play the black national anthem before they even play the national anthem. And you have some leagues that are actually looking to eliminate the national anthem. I was reading that Major League Baseball was looking to eliminate the national anthem.
One of the most American sports.
You would think so, right? And here's a league. I find baseball funny because here's a league that when you watch a lot of the games, you'll notice that even before COVID, there wasn't a lot of people in the stands to begin with. So it's like it's one of those sports where it's popular, but it's losing a lot of interest. Like, people aren't interested in it like it used to be. Baseball isn't as big. So you would think at this point that they would be trying to do anything that they can to unite whatever fan base they have, as opposed to trying to alienate people. But now, again, you got baseball players that are kneeling. You got the league that is considering not playing the national anthem at all. But there is a bright spot, because I did see that the Cleveland Indians, they were showing that during the national anthem, not one player kneeled.
Yeah.
So I think you're starting to see some resistance towards that whole let's kneel against the national anthem and all that.
Yeah, I would say so too. I don't think that there's a whole bunch of people that are not fighting back. Because there was one kid, if I can remember correctly, he didn't kneel during the national anthem that was played, and I think he played on I think he played on the Dallas Mavericks, if I'm not sure. He did tear his ACL.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's out now, but he didn't kneel at all. He's a black kid, and he said he didn't kneel because he only kneels before God.
Right, and there was a baseball player who also did that as well. He just felt like he couldn't support the Black Lives Matter movement based on his religious beliefs. And that player, I know, as soon as he did that, I heard that his jersey sales went through the roof. There was a lot of people that were supporting him for doing that. But I just want to backtrack a little bit. The Black National Anthem, Uvaldo Deshaun, can you even tell me what that is?
Oh,
I heard Glenn Beck talk about it's supposed to be actually a really good patriotic song, but they're gonna take it and use it for the Black National Anthem, which is kind of messed up.
Yep.
so in the national anthem, is it a American patriotic song?
It is. It's actually a good song, but they're gonna use it and redirect it to be used for the Black National Anthem.
Really?
I can't remember the name of the song, but I heard it on the Glenn Beck program.
Now, I've never heard of the Black National Anthem until they said that they were going to play it. And I don't even think they had one, so I think they're just kind of making this up
Right.
as they go. So I don't think there's much thought behind it because I've never heard of a Black National Anthem. So if you're going to have a Black National Anthem, you better, how do I put it? You better put something together right away, real quick, real soon, because it doesn't seem like there's much thought into this.
I don't know, but how would you? How do you think it would play out if we did a white national anthem at the? Like, you know what I
Nazi
mean?
Germany,
Like why are we doing this?
they
Aren't
would
we?
call the white folks a bunch of Nazis. That's what they'd call you guys.
Aren't we all supposed to be an American? Like, why are we dividing ourselves based on the color of our skin? Then you're gonna have yellow national anthem, brown national anthem, white.
Purple?
I mean, come on. It's just, we know what this is all stemming from. It's the anti-Trump camps there, and
Yeah.
they're anything to divide and conquer. The Soros groups and all those people. They're not interested in the Black Lives Mattering. Can any of you tell me what Black Lives Matter have actually done for black people?
Oh, Eddie just said on Facebook that the audio is great now. Good. Thanks,
Awesome,
Eddie.
awesome.
Thanks, Eddie.
But yeah, back to my question. Do you think that, what exactly has Black Lives Matter done for the black communities? I know I follow a young black man on, I think he's in his teens,
Let's say,
and he's done more for the black community.
Are there any things that I'm going to be a little objective with it? Are there any things Black Lives Matter
I'll
have
answer
done
your
for
question. No.
nothing?
Because the organization is not for Black Lives. It's a political organization, right? So they have
Right.
their own political agenda.
Right.
But the problem that you have is why people are sympathetic. And I talked with you
Right.
about this the other day.
Mhm.
The problem you have as to why people are sympathetic towards them is because they've been made to believe that things are so bad for blacks that somebody has to at least do something because nothing's being done and it's so bad. So whites will virtue signal by being sympathetic towards them because they want to feel good, right? Because they've been guilted, right? And then
Right.
blacks just feel victimized and they want to feel like somebody's doing something. So the idea Black Lives Matter is good because it does matter. All Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. But the organization is evil because it has nothing to do with Black lives, but everything to do with their own political agenda. But people
sure.
don't pay attention to that.
Right.
People don't research. People don't see what the leaders are saying. They just follow, which is why it's a really brilliant slogan because it's capturing just the hearts and minds of people. That people aren't even willing to really look into what they're saying. But the movement itself is just brilliant in that sense because
Right.
it's really good marketing.
It is good marketing because if I come out against Black Lives Matter, then because I'm saying no to Black Lives Matter, it automatically paints me as somebody who's anti-black.
Right.
So it is good marketing there, but it's the problem is when
But
you
what if you're black?
What about it? What
then you're a sellout, you're a coon.
Oh yeah, then you're an Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
Watch the Uncle Tom
Because
movie. I heard it's a very good
if
movie.
you don't
Yeah.
support Black Lives Matter, but you're a black person,
Right. then
it
you're a
makes you
sellout.
what are you then at that point?
You're a victim of white supremacy, like theology or whatever. You've been brainwashed. You're a coon.
But
You're a
that's
sellout.
but that's the problem, Deshaun, is people don't get past that slogan of Black Lives Matter. Most people who wear and don the T-shirts and the hats don't even realize what that movement is actually representing or who's driving it. Half of them or more probably don't even know that you have Black Lives leaders calling for white people to give up their homes to black people just voluntarily. You know, half of them probably don't know that the leaders are Marxist trained and have George Soros funding behind them. You know, they don't think about that. They see a catchy slogan and, hey, I can get behind that. But they don't see what's truly behind it.
Yeah.
You know? So when I come against it, yeah, I'm going to see them as a racist because they don't understand why I disagree with Black Lives Matter. Of course I believe your life matters. My life matters. I believe all lives matter. But I don't believe in what's driving that movement.
So we said it's good marketing.
It's very good, Mark. It's brilliant. Because think about, look how brilliant it is. People don't, their leaders they're not like hiding and saying this stuff. They're in the mainstream media and saying, we're trained Marxists.
Yeah.
We believe that like Jesus was a civil rights, leader. Or he was a mover and shaker for civil rights. All these ridiculous things, and no one's, they're saying stuff. We want to denuclearize the nuclear family. We want to get rid of the nuclear family. All these things that are radical, and yet people are still sympathetic and following them. Yeah. Isn't that?
I mean, not only that,
that's crazy.
You see all these looting and rioting.
People are naturally sympathetic towards, victims. So
Right.
I think if you paint yourself as a victim, it's easy to be sympathetic towards that.
I think they're sympathetic, but also scared at the same time.
Yes, and that's.
So you think there's fear and sympathy?
There's fear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you're white, you're afraid to.
If you're a white person, you're afraid to lose your job. I mean, just go on social media and look at how many people. I read the other day a woman lost her job just because she said she doesn't support Black Lives Matter. You have Goodyear Tires that's telling their employees that it's okay to wear Black Lives Matter apparel at work, but you can't wear Police Lives Matter or MAGA apparel at work. So why is one better than the other? Because they're trying to make it seem like as if you support MAGA or support the police, that you're automatically racist and bad. And that's a fear tactic. There's many other companies that are doing that.
I heard about that with Goodyear. And blacks are afraid to be alienated from their own social group, so they're afraid
That's
to
true.
say how they really feel.
You definitely will be alienated from your social groups. Because, I mean, even with myself, when I came out and said I didn't support Black Lives Matter, I got a lot of backlash from some of my friends.
Yeah.
People were calling me saying, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah,
I
blah.
remember some posts you did on Facebook, and a lot of people were attacking you.
Yeah, a lot of people
because
were
of
attacking
that.
me. And I had to call a friend because I'm in the nursing program, and a lot of the friends I surround myself with are very liberal and democratic, and I love them very much. I tell them too, you don't have to agree with me, you know what I mean? But I still love you. I still care about you. You know what I'm saying? And I still want to help you. We don't have to be like super buddies, but you know what I mean? And I let them know that. But it's amazing to me how if they'll be quick to say, oh, come here, brother. Black brother, like they'll be quick to say that so that I can join whatever ranks they want. But as soon as I come out as I don't support that, I'm not with that, I'm no longer a black brother. I'm a sellout. I'm a coon. I'm brainwashed or something like that. And it's ridiculous because it's like I'm just thinking for myself.
Right. But you're not allowed to do that. That's not what they want. They want you to stay on that plantation, that Dem plantation, and just go with the flow. Go with what Master's telling you to do.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because it seems to me that a lot of the breeding ground is at the college universities.
Hey, maybe this whole COVID thing, maybe it's a blessing in disguise, so it gets all those Marxist teachers out of the heads of the children. We'll see.
I think so too. So too, Matt.
The real problem with the teachers is the teachers union. They want to push all these radical Marxist things before they let the teachers get out there and teach. I heard in California they want to start. Somebody called in a show I was watching and said that they had a board meeting. The teachers had a board meeting, and they want to start teaching critical race theory in the schools in California.
Political race theory?
Critical race theory. Critical race theory.
Critical race theory.
Yeah, it's a Marxist racial theory that talks about things like, any like the family is a Western civilization idea,
Right.
and it's
Yes.
it's
I see what you
degrading
mean.
and it's oppressing black people. So we need to get rid of the Western idea of a family, which is a two parent home, children, and all that stuff. Things like that. They want to redefine anything that's
Right.
that's good.
And it's the complete opposite of what would actually solve this nation's.
Yeah.
When we began destroying the family, that's when we began having a lot of the poverty and problems that we have. Let's face it. The reason why the black communities are where they are, it isn't
Those
because
homes.
there isn't enough funding going there. Or there isn't. They don't have enough. They don't have housing and things because they get a lot of that stuff in many cases free.
Yep.
The problem is the family has been destroyed by these politicians that were more concerned about their vote than they were their well-being. So they destroyed the family, and we see what happens when there's no father in the home.
Right.
It destroys them. It creates poverty. You got women having children out of wedlock, and what happens is they can't raise that children without a father or somebody else to help take care of the kids and then have a job.
Yes.
So then they become reliant on the government. The government becomes daddy, and unfortunately, government is the worst daddy that you can have.
Amen to that.
Amen to that, bro. I can attest to that because growing up in a single parent household, very liberal democratic. My mom, and one of the things that I can also say is that I knew who my dad was, but my dad wasn't there, and I can just tell you from a perspective, it's not good. That's not the way you're supposed to live. You're supposed to have a mom and dad. You know what I mean? And I think that that's crucial for some of these young men because their insecurities and their fears are what's driving them to commit a lot of crime,
Right.
to go to jail, to not do the right thing. A lot of the insecurity and the fear of just being not having a family.
Right. Because who ends
know?
up raising those kids? Because the mothers aren't capable of taking care of them all the time, so they end up going in the streets and they get taught by the streets, right?
Yep. They become little gangsters and
Yep.
thugs, and they think that that's what's cool because you also have hip-hop culture and all these different things that promote a lot of that stuff. And you know what? A lot of these kids, some of them, they're not really thugs like in the community. It's like they make themselves look as if they're that, but they're not really that. You know what I mean? Because that's their culture. So it's almost like in the community, it's like if they do certain things, it's only because that's what the culture does. You know what I'm saying? They don't really think for themselves.
And especially when you look in like areas of Fall River, it's not just the black community. You see it in whites as well. It's because the families, especially in this area, a lot of times they've just been destroyed.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard bringing up families, when it doesn't have what God created, that natural order.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what? And this is why loving God and being a Christian is very good because it can restore the family.
Right.
You can restore the family. The family, you get one person that gets on fire for God and loves the Lord, and you never know what can happen in your family.
Yep.
You never know. You never know how your family could be put back together
Right.
through the power of the Holy Ghost and through the Word of God. So, I think that's also a miracle. So, even though we have these broken families, I think the answer to all of those families is Jesus and is also government getting out of the family unit. I don't think the government should have been involved. To me, I don't think government should be involved in marriage at all. At all. I don't think I should have to go to city council and get a marriage certificate and sign a marriage certificate. I don't think government should be in marriage at all. I think that's a religious institution. I think the church is what's involved in marriage.
Right.
And I think that if there's going to be a contract I sign, it should be between my church body and myself and my wife. You know what I mean? My pastor, whoever.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
I don't mind the government administrating marriage, but I want the church and the Word of God to be the superiority as to how they do it.
Okay.
They should follow the guidelines that the church gives as to how marriage should be. So I think that's...
And there's other factors that we need to think about because obviously government tax reasons and benefits and things like that. They have to be able to monitor who's getting married to who, and and a lot of that is to keep family members from marrying each other, believe it or not, and things like that.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
other factors behind it. So I'm not necessarily opposed to that. I think what you're trying to get more at is government maybe dictating, who should get married and things like that.
I just think that they shouldn't have really much power. I think the places that should institute marriage should be the church. I think those are the people that should regulate marriage. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they can delegate like government officials to, as long as the government official is following the church guidelines. They shouldn't
Yeah.
deviate from how the
And the
church
thing you got to
wants
remember
do.
too is that there's a lot of people who aren't in church. Yeah,
And
Yeah.
so they don't know God. They don't know the importance
Right.
yet of
That's a
of,
good point.
of God in the marriage.
yeah.
So they don't always think of that. When I think of like my parents getting married, they got married by justice of the peace. My mom and stepdad, they didn't go to a church because they don't really follow that stuff. They don't believe. And honestly, I probably would have done the same had I not found truth.
Yeah.
And my life,
sure.
my life definitely would have been very different had I not found this church.
Yeah.
You know.
I think though, even without, I believe that I wish an apostolic Pentecostal church would dictate, as far as marriage is concerned, to the government how things would go. But even even if it was in the real world that we live in, I feel like even if, unfortunately, if the Catholic Church had the power, or whatever church was able to had the infrastructure to regulate marriage, I think that it should be church, a church institution, and I think it should just be solid concrete as far, because it seems to me now, if you could just issue a marriage license, unfortunately, the world we live in, you can issue a marriage license to same-sex couple, transgender couple, probably to a person and an animal soon, because I think that's where we're going, or a 50-year-old
Yeah.
to a 12-year-old. Like, if that's where we're going, I think that marriage in the hands of government has totally been perverted and absolutely eradicated
Yeah.
as far as
I
the real
get-
meaning.
I do
behind it.
get what you're saying, the perverted aspects of it, but at the same time, we still want to push marriage, and we still want the majority of people getting married, because what you're actually beginning to see now is I think a lot of people have caught on that it's actually more beneficial to not be married in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So you'll see a lot of people who will refuse to get married because they receive a lot of government assistance, and as soon as they get married and the government catches wind that, hey, there's a husband there or a spouse that's bringing in income, hey, you don't need to have these benefits anymore.
Yeah.
And I know people personally who have done that, and it's not the right thing to do, but that's why we need to be teaching people that marriage is still an important thing, and that should be something that people look forward to. But I think you're starting to see a cultural shift where people are kind of looking at it, oh, it's just a paper. Just a piece of paper.
And that's what's happening. And I think that because the church has stepped back, and I'm just saying church in general, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Because the church has stepped back on this matter, I don't care what kind of church you are, I think that because we've stepped back and we've allowed marriage to be government dictated almost at this point, to where the church has like no say in it. Literally, I think that strips a lot of what the original meaning and intent for marriage, how it got lost. It's almost like somebody sitting at the table, right? If I'm the church, you're government, and then you're the political leader, I have to tell you or remind you over and over again why marriage is this way, why God ordained it,
Right.
and specifically why it's important and why we should make it. I don't even think that the church has put up a case for it. I just think it's just been kind of, here you go, government, do whatever you want with marriage.
Well, the way that marriage works is it's for it to be legally binding, it's pretty much it's government controlled.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when I went to go get my license and all that paperwork in Rhode Island to marry my wife, as soon as I did that paperwork, according to the state,
Yeah.
we were married.
Okay.
But they didn't have to depend on the church to say, okay, yeah, they're married. I was already married before we actually did the ceremony. And then pastor just signs a document as a witness, and then it gets official. But a lot of people who don't go to church or believe in church, they simply just go to the government, and the government is what
So-
legally binds. We have a different belief because we know that our marriage is blessed by God. God is a part of our marriage.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different in our mindset because of that. Because we know that for us as believers, it's not. We don't have the blessing until the pastor or whoever
Yeah.
whoever's over you doing that ceremony makes it official. You know. What I
Yeah,
mean?
and I know, yeah. So I get it. Secularly, you're going to probably go to the government, but I also want people to I want to challenge your thinking. If you think the government is has all power and sole authority over your marriage, then I think that kind of limits your thinking on how a marriage is blessed. You know what I mean? I think that when two come together, I think ultimately it's not only between you both, but I feel like either or, you have to realize that there's got to be something that binds you guys together beyond just the two of you, because it's really easy to get a divorce today if government is just involved in your marriage. I mean, it's really easy. I can marry somebody and make money from it. If somebody wants to marry me and come overseas and just, hey, I want to be a citizen of the United States. Hey, pay me $15,000 and you can marry me.
Right.
And then I'll divorce you. So I mean, I just feel like it's like at that point, marriage has no meaning if you don't believe in God. It's just a piece of paper at that point.
Yeah.
God is the one who ordains marriage,
Right.
and I think it'll mean more to some
And
people out
as
there.
when people get into the church and things like that, they begin to realize that those things are a little bit more important than maybe they were taught otherwise. Because before I came to God, I felt the same way. Marriage is just a piece of paper, and we'll get married whenever we get married, and it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Again, because the benefits of being married don't really outweigh the benefits of not being married.
Yeah,
you
when
know,
you
when you
weigh
look
the
at
pros and cons, it wouldn't even make sense to get married sometimes.
Right. When you look at it at a non-biblical way, I guess.
And I think that that's because the government is in control of that in some way, shape, or form. I don't think that they should have really any power in dictating who. I think the church should be the one to. Does that make sense? So the government should be like the third party to where the government issues. A
Yeah,
marriage
I mean,
license.
yeah. Again, to our standpoint, we're gonna believe that. But again, to people who don't believe in God or maybe have a different religion or background, then they may not see it that way.
We got a message here from Stephen on the chat on Facebook. Stephen Rhodes, Stephen Grace. People of the same sex cannot get married. Marriage has been defined by God. The world cannot take what God instituted and ordained, but reject God. I refuse to call it marriage. They can find another name for it.
Yeah, and we don't
Yeah.
disagree with that. Like Deshaun
that's
had
a great
mentioned.
point, Stephen. I think that's kind of what I'm saying in a nutshell. Like I
Yeah.
just think that you don't
Only-
call it marriage at that point. It's
Only
something different.
God can ordain your marriage. Is exactly what you had
Pretty
said
much.
before. I remember when I was early in the church, people were freaking out about the same-sex marriage and things like that. And I remember I was praying, and God had told me that, it's not really something to get mad about, because you have to understand that these are the things that are going to begin to happen as time goes on. We're going to see more of this stuff as time goes on. But just know that those marriages that are not ordained by God, in that moment, it is just a piece of paper. It doesn't have the blessings of God that, say, somebody like myself or you, or who are following the biblical practice of what marriage actually is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that ordaining. It doesn't have that blessing. Not to say that other people who don't get married through the church aren't gonna have a good marriage. There are always rules to the exception, but overwhelmingly, those
Yeah.
that get married in churches, especially like ours,
Yeah.
the marriages tend to stick, and the reason why is it's because it's ordained by God.
Yeah.
So yeah, we totally agree with you, Brother Grace, and I'm glad that you posted that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephen.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, Stephen. It just makes sense. I just think that you shouldn't really call that marriage anymore. Just call it a relationship, because that's really what it is. You're just kind of giving a relationship a certificate at that
But
point.
we already see what happens. I've preached many times, and I've heard it from you guys as well. Once we begin to allow things like that, the whole homosexual movement is really it's just the stepping stones to other things. You
Yeah.
know, sin has no boundaries.
None. Zero.
So when the devil begins to ask for things and you begin to give in, and the church begins to give in, he doesn't just take the 3 steps that he asked for. He's going to end up taking 5, 10, 20 steps. And we're
Right.
already getting to that point where you're seeing this huge push to normalize pedophilia. And we've been warning
Yeah.
about this for years. As soon as the homosexual and transgender and all that stuff began to be normalized, what's the next thing? Because sin has no boundaries. There's always going to be something that comes up after it. And we're actually seeing some pedophilia things. There's actually been some backlash recently on Netflix. I guess there was a TV show that was promoting
I heard about that. Yeah.
pedophilia type things, and
yeah.
there's a lot of people defending it and saying that that's a work of
It's
art,
like-
and you don't understand it. But I mean, come on, what is there to understand about these little girls that are twerking? To me, that's sick and disgusting. It should not be on a platform such
Yeah.
as Netflix.
It's horrible, and it's ridiculous, because even if you look at the Jeffrey Epstein case, with all of these young girls who are getting recruited to do sexual favors for this man, and not only that, but then being trafficked out to
Yeah.
all these bigwigs, and it gets absolutely no media attention.
Isn't it amazing? The 2 biggest stories, Deshaun, Jeffrey Epstein and the sex trafficking, no media coverage,
Mm-hmm.
and the same thing with Obama and Obamagate. 2 of the biggest scandals in the history of the United States, yet neither of them are getting the media attention that they deserve.
None, zero. It's unfortunate, because that just shows you just how much of an enemy the mainstream media is to the American people.
Yeah, and you're seeing more and more cases of children just going missing, and the reason why I think part of it is you're not going to see it is because Trump has been very big on trying to stop sex trafficking.
Yeah.
In fact, his
Sex
first year
trafficking is
alone,
huge.
I think he almost made as many arrests as Obama did in his first term
Well,
as president. So we're seeing an administration that is taking this serious.
yeah.
But
Because it really does need to be taken seriously. I think of sex trafficking and prostitution, all these things, as in the dark things. Those things are so in the dark that people don't even want to think about that stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you won't hear it in the media.
And I think you're not going to hear it because a lot of it is associated with big names.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
I don't know if you saw
Bill
a list
Clinton.
of Bill Clinton. Isn't it funny that Bill Clinton can be on the DNC talking about
Morality.
against Trump, when here's a man who obviously could not keep his junk in his pants, right, while in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
But he's up there preaching against. That's what the Democrats do, right? That's what liberals do.
Yeah. And
They're-
then you're going
they're
to fly
hypocrites
26 times on Jeffrey Epstein's jet back and forth from his island.
But of
But
course,
you can talk about morality, right, Bill Clinton?
he didn't do anything. And then you always have liberals who bring up Trump. Trump was the only guy that banned Epstein from his club.
On a good note, speaking of MAGA and Trump, we've got about 300 miles of border wall up in Texas. 300 miles. Can you believe it? We've made
Is that what it is?
progress on the border wall. 300 miles of border wall to date. Trump posted it on his I think it was on his Instagram his Instagram or Facebook. I believe it was one of those. So we've got 300 miles. And I know a lot of you Democrats, a lot of you people out there who were so opposed to this wall. I think it's going to do the border justice. I think it's going to do a lot of it justice because of all of the cartels moving drugs in and out of this country.
And same thing with sex trafficking. Yeah.
Sex trafficking is coming from the border. You got young girls who are being sex trafficked from the United States. And I also do want to talk about not only does it benefit us militarily, it also benefits us when it comes to crime and things of that nature, And I hate to flip flop from different subjects, but you remember that girl that was killed, Vanessa Gullins, who was a military. She was military. She was killed down in Texas. She went missing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I think I heard.
You know what I mean? I hate to flip flop from the border wall to that, but I really didn't understand that. You know what I mean? They talk about there's a lot of sexual harassment that goes on in the military. Is that true? Is that true, or is that just shenanigans?
I don't know. Matt would
Yeah,
probably
I've
be
never
the
served
best.
in the military. I'm really speaking to Matt at this point because Matt
Yeah,
served
I
in the
mean,
military.
anytime that you're in an environment where you're that, where it's co-ed and you're that close to people, there's always bound to have those issues.
Yeah.
Am I gonna say during my time was it like a prevalent thing, like were people being ordered to do things? Not that I ever witnessed, but was there flirting? Was there things that happened? Absolutely, but it was both sides of the aisle, mostly consensual, that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it is. Apparently, that particular base, I guess, has a lot of problems with that, and maybe we can get some advice from somebody who's served from that particular base at some point. Have them
Yeah.
on the show, and maybe talk more of that.
Because that to me was unfortunate. One of the things, at least the story I heard from the mom, was that she was going through some things in the military, and how the border wall relates to that, it has no relation. But I just kind of came to my mind when I was in Texas. I heard about the story, and I also was kind of frustrated because it was like this girl, she went missing, and then the sergeant who was suspected of doing the sexual harassment ended up killing himself. So that's a
Yeah.
little bit of the story behind it. But then one of the things that really stuck out to me was that before Vanessa was killed, she actually went home and she got to visit her parents and things like that. And her mom looked at her and said, "You know what, Vanessa? Something seems wrong. Something seems off. Can you tell me what's going on?"
Yeah.
And she tried to express to her mother that there's nothing that you can do, Mom. You know what I mean? And she almost felt as if it was happening on a higher chain of command
Right.
to where she had really no control over it. Like, you can't, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah, I mean, we can say the same thing about police officers, right? There's no matter what you do, people automatically had this assumption that if because you wear a United States uniform that you're automatically a good person.
Yeah.
But there's bad apples in any occupation, any career that you go through, and the military is no exception to that.
Mm-hmm.
Even during the time that I served, there were people who I thought were kind of scummy. It's just the way that it is, And when you have, especially an organization that big, there's bound to be apples that are rotten to the core.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to say that it's widespread and it's throughout the entire military,
I think that's an
wouldn't say
overjump.
that.
That's
Yeah,
an overjump.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay. Yeah. I just think that was unfortunate.
Speaking of the border wall, though, Evaldo, I'd like
Yeah.
your opinion because I know Michael Levon, Michelle Obama was talking about.
Michael.
Michelle Obama was talking about how Trump was separating children at the border. What do you think about that?
The border, the cage that her husband started.
Yeah, but she didn't mention that though. She didn't. It's funny in her speech. She didn't mention that
She
her
didn't mention that, right? That's
husband built those cages
Yeah.
and was separating children. That's funny, huh?
Yeah, she kind of left that one out. Maybe she was trying to be modest and not giving her husband too much credit
Maybe.
for having done such wonderful stuff like building cages.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe she wants to give Trump all the credit because she's so gracious in that way. Yeah, that's funny how she failed to mention that. Yeah, I heard her say that. That's an interesting comment by Miss Michael Obama there. I mean, Michelle. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Trump stopped it, actually. He stopped it. He did something, to mitigate what the Obama presidency was doing all those 8 years.
Really?
More, at a more rate than the Trump administration, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you have all these people, who are coming in and out of the border, there is, I think I heard a statistic of over 10,000, 20,000 people are crossing the border every hour, trying to get in and out of America.
Yeah.
I think there's more, every hour. And you need a place to put people that you're not unsure of. You're unsure of, and I don't think they're cages. You know what I mean? I haven't seen them.
I mean, that's been going on for centuries. Used to be Ellis Island in New York.
Should we put them? mean, do you want to put them up in a 5-star penthouse? Like, you know what I mean? Is that
Yeah, there has to be, especially they're essentially breaking the law,
Yeah. Come on, guys.
But I kind of want to move to something else.
What do you want to move to? The DNC or?
Yeah, I want to talk about Sleepy Joe.
Yep.
The RNC is coming up.
Yes, it is. Dementia
Hey.
Joe.
Election Day, November 3rd.
November 3rd.
What are we doing that day?
Go vote.
Yeah, after we voting, I think we should have a nice party and just,
We should try to get Wednesdays off.
Yeah.
That Wednesday off and live stream the election night
yeah, we can do
and
that.
follow it.
We
We
should
can
do
put
that.
up. We could put it up. Yeah, we could do that.
That'd be fun. We should get a couch or something. and just
Anyways,
hang
I
out.
didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. What were you saying about
Yeah,
the
I did
DNC?
want to talk about the DNC a little bit, or not so much the DNC, but Sleepy Joe's policies. He had talked about how if he's elected president, that he has no problem shutting down the U.S. again, as well as mandating masks.
Yep.
What do you guys-
I heard that today. He
And-
said
Waldo, what do you think of that?
if he hears about one scientist or one professional expert that says anything about shutting down, he's going to shut down this country right away.
Something to drink. Anybody want something to drink?
But I just, as somebody who's been really affected by the shutdown, because, I work in the convention trade show industry, which heavily relies on people getting together at conventions and trade shows.
Yep.
Essentially, a vote for Biden, for me, personally, means that I probably wouldn't have a job anymore. Where you're going to lose all. I think we ended up losing maybe half to 75% of our income, and if we do survive another shutdown, it's going to be, we're already at a skeleton crew right now. I can't even imagine what they would have to do to survive again. But, he's talking about a shutdown. He's talking about mandating masks. Speaking of mandates, what do you guys think of the Massachusetts requirements of children having to have vaccines, flu vaccine, which isn't really a vaccine, by the way?
I think it's ridiculous. And on that note, Stephen Grace, we'd love to have your wife and my wife too. It's hard getting these girls on. They'd be great to have on the show to talk about vaccines.
Yeah.
So send that message to your wife, Stephen. He's on Facebook watching. But anyways, yeah, I don't think it should be mandated. I think that should be the choice of the parents. That's making me lean more towards having my kids be homeschooled instead of having to put up with a mandation on vaccines.
Right.
I already feel kind of funny about them to begin with. I mean, I get certain vaccines, like you got the major ones like polio, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Those are good or effective.
And
but-
I'm personally not opposed to vaccines, most of them. But when it comes to the flu shot, where it's just a crapshoot of a cocktail of guesses of might be this strain, might be that strain,
Right.
might be a strain that never
Yeah.
shows up, and you're just going to continuously inject this stuff into your kids. And if you're one of those people that you get it every year, good for you. That's good.
Yeah.
Keep doing that.
Go ahead. Yeah.
That's your choice, right? Because I know a lot of you will personally say "my body, my choice" when it's to use that same slogan. But I digress. When it comes to a cocktail of guesses, the state isn't going to mandate that for my kids. Sorry.
And you know what I mean? I think our point here is that we're not against vaccines. We're just against the fact that you're mandating me to get one.
Right.
I think that's really what we need to hit the heart out. It's like, if you want to get the flu vaccine, go right ahead. There's nothing wrong with it. We're not saying that there's anything wrong with the vaccine. We're saying that we should not be mandated to have to get one. That's all.
Yeah. You know who
Yeah.
else was mandating those types of shots?
Hitler.
Yeah, the Nazis.
The
And they were
Nazis.
sterilizing people that they
Hitler,
that
the
they
designer of the Volkswagen buggy.
and Fanta soda.
Fanta soda, yeah. Fanta soda.
Uh-oh.
But you know what? People like to joke, but you know what? When we were back in January and we were watching people in China wearing masks and we were over here joking, oh, thank God we live in America because that would never happen here. And guess what? A few months later, we're all wearing masks, right? It's supposed to be 2 weeks. Oh, let's curve the spread and flatten the curve, I should say. And wear these masks for 2 weeks. But you know what? How many months has it been that we're still wearing masks?
Yeah.
Now they're mandating a flu that has nothing to do with COVID, right? Because supposedly they're two separate things, right?
Yeah.
You're the nurse. You tell me.
As far as what?
flu and COVID are supposedly two different things, right?
Yeah.
So why are they mandating a flu shot?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I know all of a sudden, I mean, and especially since nobody's died from the flu since Corona, right?
Yeah. But you know how many people die of the flu every year? In
I
pneumonia?
know. It's
It's
if we
exponential.
if we highlighted those deaths, it would be almost as bad as what Corona's done.
It literally would be. You know what I mean? And I think that the mainstream media has taken COVID-19 and blew it way out of proportion as far as its fatalities and mortalities. It's not like Mortal Kombat. It's not gonna rip your heart out. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like, you're not gonna die fatality by Sub-Zero or something because you have this cold.
Rhode Island just announced that 10% of their fatalities weren't even accurate, and I guarantee I'd be willing to bet that number is actually much higher than 10%.
Listen, over 60,000 people die of the flu every year. We don't hear anything about that. And that's probably a number that's not even inflated. You have to if you put in pneumonia and COPD and heart disease, because heart disease is the number one killer. But if we're talking about respiratory issues, COPD and bronchitis and all these different things, they're killing people. They're killing a lot of people. You know what I mean? And we don't hear anything about that. So, I mean, I guess because this is new, COVID-19 is new and fresh. Next year, it's not going to be new and fresh. So we just wasted a whole bunch of time, shut down the entire economy.
But I guess my point is look how we were looking at China. Look how we were laughing at them, saying that would never come here, but here it is. We've been mandated to wear these masks now for a couple months now, way past the 2 weeks. What's next? What is after the mandating of the flu shot? What's next? What's coming next?
One, I know next.
Well, that's how
Mandated.
socialism works, right?
That's it.
We all
One toilet
instead of
paper.
getting bread lines, we'll be in toilet paper lines.
Toilet paper lines, man. I haven't been able to wipe my butt in weeks, and now I get the chance to go and buy some new toilet paper. This is right. I'm going Charmin all the way, baby.
Other things with the DNC with Sleepy Joe, obviously raising taxes, defunding police, reparations, the Green New Deal. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Hey, Russ, if you want to send some more reparations our way, we'll surely take them, buddy.
Anyways, I've been rambling. Evaldo, you got anything for us?
No.
Man.
Steven on the chat said if we have his wife on, you're going to need more time if my wife starts talking about topics like that. About vaccine.
Hey, well, we've got time so far, right now at least. No. Evolve,
No.
you got anything for us?
I think the masks, the vaccines are all about controls. I think there's deeper things that they're trying to do beyond this. These are just red herrings. That's how I feel about them. Of course, they're going to start with the flu vaccine first to warm us up to that. And then
Right.
once the COVID is ready to go, they'll make COVID the vaccine of choice that they want people to forcefully get. And then,
So maybe they're trying to see how we would react to
yeah,
a flu
they're trying to
mandate
get a temperature of how we're going to react.
before they actually
Preface
push
for
the
it, yeah.
COVID, which, right now for the flu, they're only doing it for children, requiring it for children that are
Yeah.
attending school.
So they want to.
Personally, it's not going to affect me because my kid will be homeschooled, but I'm still going to fight for those that are, because as Americans, we should be fighting this. Again, it's not a vaccine. It's not. Vaccine,
not.
you get the shot and it makes you immune to whatever that disease is. This is not a vaccine. So I hate that they even use that terminology because they're trying to purposely confuse people into believing that, hey, I get a flu shot, I'm going to be immune to the flu.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not the case.
And you know what? I think that the word vaccine, when we talk about a vaccination, we're almost saying that if you have this, if you get this shot, you're going to be immune to this specific disease or
Yep.
this specific illness. And that's not the case scientifically.
Right. It's you build a resistance to it, right? Or
Yeah. Scientifically, what happens is what a vaccination is. You are issuing or you are entering artificially giving somebody you're giving somebody literally the bacteria or the antibodies that are inside that vaccine. You're giving somebody polio. You're giving somebody
Right.
COVID-19 so that their immune system can build up the antibodies to overcome. They're going to give you a little bit of what COVID is. So it's like almost like it's almost like somebody giving you the disease, and then your body does pretty much most of the work. So you know what I mean? I just don't understand how people don't realize that you COVID. You just feel a little better because they got it in a vial. You know?
Right.
So you feel better somebody injecting you with COVID-19 rather than you just getting it naturally? Is that how you feel better about it? Okay, sure. I mean, pick your poison.
Well,
pretty much pick your poison. Which one do you
right.
want?
The idea is that it's a milder form or things like that. You know, it's not necessarily, but I'm going to respect people who don't want their children to get vaccines, or
sure.
at least certain ones.
Yeah.
I think there are certain ones that you know, like polio. I mean, that's a disease that's pretty much been eradicated, and as long as we keep people vaccinated for that, it will remain eradicated. There are certain diseases that people don't have to necessarily die from.
Yeah.
We have a cure for it. You know, but you know, things like COVID, where you got 23, 26 different countries all fighting to try to get this vaccine out as possible, to be the superhero, to be the savior.
Yeah.
And in a matter of, you know, when people do these vaccines, it takes years to do.
Yeah.
And they're going to, on this vaccine, are you really going to trust China?
Well,
but, you know,
crazy,
but again,
man.
it should be, in my belief, it's the parents' choice. It's a time where we need to stick up for ourselves, and we need to stick up for our rights, because there is a particular party in this country that does not respect our rights, and they're doing everything in their control
to take away.
Who would ever think that in the United States of America that there would be checkpoints, okay, in a city where police are purposely pulling over people from outside of that city or state and checking them to see if they have COVID? Like this is some kind of Nazi Germany Gestapo where we got to start driving around and showing people our papers that we're COVID free. You know, who would ever think that stuff would be happening in America?
I think it's just.
But we get comfortable and we allow it to happen.
Yeah, I think that Americans need to wake up here. That's pretty much what Matt's saying. Wake up and smell the coffee. They're trying to take away our freedoms in this country, and they're doing it under the guise of public health. You know, they're going to use public health and global health and all this balagna, I should say, to kind of take away the rights of the people. And I think that it's a certain political party, like Matt said, that's trying to do that. And I think that that's unfortunate, because I think of it as an investor. You know, sometimes the best opportunities are in the wake of disaster. As an investor, and it's the same way for somebody who wants to take on power and want more power, is you use fear and you use devastation to gain more power.
Well, that's the Democrat slogan, right? Never let a good disaster go to waste.
Go to waste.
See?
You know, and it's. I could see if it was happening across the board, but who are the cities, who are the governors that are enforcing these mandates and these laws and these lockdowns? It's all one party.
Yeah.
And don't give me Baker, because he's not a Republican. That dude's a Democrat. Okay? But I digress. Evaldo, we haven't heard much from you. You got to talk.
I know, I'm just busy setting everything up here.
Evaldo's our
I
tech
think
guy.
we're having
so
some technical difficulties.
I
The
think
camera
roles
went
have
out.
switched. Matt's usually the tech guy, but
But-
Evaldo's turned into one.
Yeah, I
We're-
usually do all the tech stuff at church, so I'm Evaldo's doing that for the podcast.
We're going to be wrapping up, though, because I am singing today. So
Oh yeah, man.
I got to be at the church at 5.
Yeah.
But it's been great. It's been a good show. This is our first live show, so we excuse the technical difficulties that we've had. Thanks for all your feedback, Eddie, and thanks for all of you guys that were watching today. Good stuff, guys.
Yep.
Hey, thanks
Any
for
last
watching.
words before we launch out?
Stay safe, PI Nation.
That's right. Stay safe, PI Nation.
Stay safe. So
Thank you for watching.
we'll catch you guys next time on the show. God bless.
God bless.